Welcome to another edition of Doctor and the Dude. I'm Dr. Jim Siebert, and joining me is my great friend again, Josh Morgan. Now, Josh, we've already got one storm down. So let's talk about Agatha a little bit and your experience and how things went as you were trying to cover the storm.
This one caught me with my pants down, just to be totally honest. I usually May, June, I'm just kind of getting, it's like getting out of bed. I'm just kind of having my coffee in terms of the hurricane season. And it's like, nope, gotta go. So, there it popped up. It was unseasonably early. Only the third known hurricane landfall on the west coast of North America in May, and surprisingly intense. That was the other surprise. It wasn't just some early season garbage. It was a full-on intense hurricane.
Yeah, and one of the things we noticed too, because you were communicating with us during the storm, and then we lost communications, and it took a little bit longer for us to get back in touch with you this time, which obviously made us a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I hunted this storm. I wanted to get right in that inner core. It was not a large hurricane, but it was quite strong, and I wanted to get in that inner core, and that took me to a small fishing village called Mazunte in the Mexican state of Oaxaca, which is a very rural state. So there's not a lot of infrastructure off the main highway, not a lot of good roads. And the hurricane that was ground zero, that town, and it got smashed up real good. And I was stranded there for basically 24 hours because from flooding and fallen trees, you couldn't get out of this village, and there was just no communications or anything. And this is part of it. When you're hunting these severe storms, at all corners of the earth, you kind of, this is sort of part of the experience. You kind of have to accept that you're just going to be stuck in places, in terms of when you're trying to document these events at the far corners of the earth. The only thing that made me sad was that I was unable to get the experience to you guys in real time. But, as soon as I got that communication back, then I did transmit those videos and images.
Oh, and they were amazing to see. We've been seeing those as you've been talking. Now, tell us a little bit about one of the biggest concerns that we had was that as the storm, and here's a hurricane, makes landfall into the mountains of Mexico and flooding. What was the flooding like after the storm had made landfall?
Yeah, this is a big story with hurricanes that hit the west coast of Mexico. So in the United States, all of our hurricane country, whether it's the Gulf Coast or the Southeast U.S., it's all basically flat coastal plains. So that doesn't mean we don't get, we don't get flooding from heavy rains, but it's different. In the mountains of Mexico, what happens is a hurricane makes landfall, could be very intense. It very quickly unravels over those mountains. They're like a blender. They just tear it up in like within a couple of hours. But the rainfall in those mountains can cause catastrophic mudslides and things of that nature. It happens a lot in Mexico and other Central American countries. And unfortunately was the case again here. After that impact on the coast, there was some devastating inland flooding and mudslides from this thing.
Now that the remnants have moved into the Gulf of Mexico, and so now we're tracking this as a Atlantic Sea Basin system, at least at this point anyway. The communication that you had in Mexico was obviously pretty tough. How would it be with the communications now as we're looking forward to what could become Tropical Storm Alex in the next several days?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's funny the way this thing, it goes over the mountains of Mexico, then it comes out on the other side and it starts to come back to life. It's like a horror movie, it's that moment where the hand comes out of the grave for like, you thought the movie was over and it's not. And here we go again. Now, hopefully, it doesn't look like it's as it's not going to be as severe, in the United States. But it looks like Florida could get a good little hit from this thing, And as we see on occasion, and we saw, last week or the week before with that odd tropical disturbance that hit the Florida Panhandle, a system does not need a name to develop a circulation and come in with a kick.
That is absolutely true. Now, if I understand, you're in Gulfport, Mississippi now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is this now going to be the home base as we're into hurricane season? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is going to be home base. I'm actually stopping here. I'm in the process of buying a piece of property in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, which is the heart of like the USA's hurricane country. I'm going to be building a house here, so I was here to sign some papers. But this will be this season. It will be my home base during hurricane season, which I think is a great place to report on potential impacts in the United States. Because it's if you look at the Gulf Coast, Mississippi's right in the middle, gives me equal access basically to all spots where Americans could see hurricanes. It's a great spot to report on the hurricane activity impacting Americans.
Well, I have to take my hat off to you because I was in Houston for about 20 years, forecasting and covering the hurricanes from there, and now I'm in Denver, Colorado. The fact that you're right there on the front lines, I mean, that says a lot about your commitment to hunting these hurricanes.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big part of it. I want to be here so I could just be close to the experiences. It's very different as someone who hunts hurricanes. It's different when you're living on the Gulf Coast and it's like a front row seat and you're just looking at that Gulf every day saying to yourself, okay, what's it going to bring to us today or this week? You're just there, you're in it, and you're kind of experiencing that arc, that sort of that up and down arc of threats coming and going. It's an interesting lifestyle, and it's one I obviously covet.
Well, and I've always had that feeling that I had a target, right here, hurricane come here. Not that I wanted it to, but when you're in the Gulf Coast area, there really isn't anywhere to run to.
Well, tell me, Dr. Jim, I mean, do you miss that feeling? Do you feel like disconnected from it? Or you're just like, hey, now I'm in the mountains of Colorado. I'm just going to get excited about other kinds of weather.
Not at all. I don't miss it at all. I get to cover the storms, but I don't have to live through the storms or with my family as well. That's kind of another thing. So we're just getting started now, Josh. And so we've got the first storm down for the year. Now we're just hopefully not have anything for a while so that you're not busy, but I have a feeling you're going to be busy. So we appreciate everything that you sent to us for the storm. That is all the time we have for this time. So everyone be safe. Hurricane season is on. We'll see you again.